So you might be new to trading, or you're a seasoned trader, or you're just slightly losing more than you win, so you're not profitable yet. Now, one thing I can say is that by the end of this video, you will at least find one thing that will be very, very useful to you. At least one. I can guarantee that. So you want to stay tuned to the end and listen and pay a lot of attention. Now, when I was initially learning how to trade from scratch, I failed a lot of accounts. I can say I failed probably minimum 50 prop firm challenges at least to get to where I am today. So I'm definitely experienced in losing. I'm definitely experienced in how to be a new trader and learning from YouTube as well. I've done these things, right? So these are the things that I think if I could tell myself back in the day, then these are the things that I would want to hear. Now, the first is if you don't have an income, a steady income, then the experience is just going to be twice as long and the pain is just going to be twice as painful. Now, the primary reason to this is when I initially started trading or learning how to trade, I didn't have a job, right? I didn't have a job that was really making me money like that. So this meant that every savings that I had was what I was investing into my education, which isn't a bad idea. Obviously, I went offensive. I went into being aggressive now in terms of trying to make money, because initially I was in a defensive mode. I was trying to save money. I was trying to build slowly in the safest way possible, but this just wasn't going to be it. So I decided to go offensive and I invested a lot of money into my education. Although I was learning through YouTube, what this meant was I was losing a lot of money to gain experience because I just went straight onto the charts. Now, this is definitely something I would not recommend, but this is what I did. And when you have a steady income, that eliminates a few things immediately. Number one is greed. Greed is going to be the biggest psychology issue that you will probably face when it comes to trading. That is one of the ones that takes people the longest to deal with, that took me the longest to deal with. And this is just because when you're in a trade and you make $500 in 10 minutes, generally you're going to want to hold longer than you say you will. So you want to hold to 600 or maybe 600 to 1K because 1K sounds nicer, but you will just lose. That's what tends to happen. You will lose, and then instead of you getting that 600, you just end up with minus 600 instead. And this will happen often until it takes a while to eventually kick in your head, and it just doesn't happen, you know, that quick. It sounds very simple, but trust me, when it starts to happen, you realize, okay, Sully said this in this video. So the moment you start putting aside a certain percentage, just aside for trading education, for investing in prop firms, just for all those reasons to deal with trading, it starts to get extremely easy. Let's just say you're making 2K a month. That 2K you put down, I don't know, 500 to invest into trading. It's a lot easier to just know that, okay, cool, 500. If I blow that 500, that 500 is gonna have to wait till the next month before I can start, you know, investing into my trading education again. But at least you still have 1.5 to live and to survive, especially if you're young, by the way, and you have no major expenses. You're literally good. You don't have much to really worry about. But I was in the end where this was a lot more stressful because yes, I had bills to pay, I had things I was running, I was building, you know, other things. So this meant that money was just cutting down time and time again. So this created this rush and the need to really get a hang of this ASAP, because as the money starts to depreciate, it gets even more tense, and then you tend to make even more mistakes. So you just end up in this loop of just doing silly habits. Now, the next thing is losing money is unavoidable. Impossible.
Impossible.
You will lose money. Name me a trader that has learned how to trade without losing money. Just tell me, because I know none probably exist. You will have to lose money. So this mainly applies to beginner traders. If you're new to trading and you think you're not going to lose money, even if you have a mentor, the person that's the best trader ever, you yourself, you're gonna lose money. It's just part of the game. Whether you're trading personal, prop firm, wherever it is, you're probably gonna blow an account or two. You have to lose money to learn certain habits. You're not gonna learn how to not be greedy without losing money due to greed, and then eventually that will be the pain that you need to overcome these habits. So know from now, you will lose money. There's no avoiding it. The amount you lose though depends on you. That depends on how quickly you want to learn. That depends on how quickly you overcome all these habits that I'm telling you right now, how quickly you take all of this in and you implement the things I'm telling you right now. Because if you don't, you're going to lose more money in the process, and the more money you lose down the line, that is why most people quit. I'll tell you one thing, guaranteed, that trading works. I think trading isn't for everybody, but for most people, trading works. It just works. The only way it works though is if you don't give up. As long as you stick with it and you don't give up, trading definitely works. But why most people think trading is a scam, or why most people think trading just doesn't work, is because they don't survive long enough. That is why literally it's like 1% or 2% of people make it as a profitable trader. That's because most people aren't cut out for it. Who can stand and lose 5,000, 10,000 pounds and still continue to pursue that one thing, even though they've lost so much money from it? Not a lot of people. It's just about being able to stick with it. And that's why realistically, if you want to actually stick with this, you want to lose as little money as possible, so you can actually eventually get to that point where you start making money. But do you understand though that you can't avoid losing money? Next is risk management, and just know that risk management is king, full stop. Risk management is the only thing that is going to take you from where you are right now to the next level, and it's very, very simple. Let me just tell you, if you just go with 2-to-1 risk reward ratio and you take one trade a day, That's it. That is literally the bread and butter to how I trade, to my strategy, to my method. Everything is risk management. If I take one trade per day and I'm looking for 1 to 2s, just think about it. If I'm trading 5 days a week, if I win 2 of them, I'm going to end up with 4% with just 2 wins. That means I can now lose the remaining 3. If I won Monday, Tuesday, lost Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I will still make money at the end of the week. It's really that straightforward. But obviously in most cases, if I win 3 times, then I'm even good. So just doing this over several months, you will generally, even if you win 50% of your trades, you're going to be profitable. So you just really need 1 to 2. Obviously, the higher your risk reward goes, if you're going for 1 to 5s, 1 to 7s, then you might have like a 20% win rate. But if you're going for 1 to 2, that's the sweet spot, because you're not losing that much where it starts to bother you and you start kind of going crazy, but you're winning enough and you're winning more than you actually put on the line. And you know that, cool, if I lose 3 trades this whole week, all I need is 2 wins and I'm gonna be good. So when you start thinking about that, you realize how simple it is. The simpler it is, the more money you will make, guaranteed. In fact, that's one thing I wish I told myself at the start of all of this. The simpler it gets, the better everything gets. Just keep it very, very simple and you will actually start to make more money. And next is just knowing that patience is queen. Now this is just the next best thing, hence why I said queen, right? But this is just knowing that, because all of this kind of come together as like one big puzzle or one meal. You can't really make a meal without different seasonings and all of that stuff. It all needs to come together to make that one delicious meal. And patience is part of the things that you're gonna need. Patience is what's gonna keep you going. Hence why I mentioned that most people don't survive this because they can't stick with it long enough. And one key area that patience is necessary in is prop firms. Many of us believe we have to pass prop firms in a week. These are not meant to be passed in a week. A few of us who've been in the game long enough would know back in the day, you know, not these new boys in the game. Back in the day, you only had about 30 days to actually pass these challenges. They gave you 30 days for a reason, because it's meant to be like a month. Realistically, it will take you some time. Bear in mind, by the way, prop firms rules are set for you to fail. So even that 30 days that is there is set for you to fail those challenges, meaning that if it takes you longer, even better. Obviously now we don't have those rules anymore, but that's why it's even 10 times better. There is no rule on you have to pass this in 1 year. You can take as long as you want. So with good risk management, if you were to buy a 200k account today, you know, put all your money on the line, which is silly, but if you were to do that and just risk 0.5% and just take it slow and steady with good risk management, you will eventually pass. But you just gotta have a whole lot of patience though. So you need to understand that prop firm challenges don't need to be rushed. You can pass it in 2 weeks, you can pass it in 3 months, in fact, at this rate. So once you start to take it slow and steady, you will pass eventually. Just many of us want to flip. We get this urge of just flipping accounts. Everything is set in trading to make you competitive, to make you want to make 10k today. Otherwise, you know, you feel like a failure. But realistically, take it slow. There's no one chasing you. You realize no one is chasing you, especially if you have an income. So that means that there's no rush to just make so much today, because you have an income already. You're taking it slow. So eventually all that is that you just need to pass. If you're doing something like university, it's going to take you 3 years. Or if you're trying to be like a doctor, for example, that might take you 6, 7 years to even get a job, to even get there in the first place. And that's to make like 10k after like 4 years extra. You think trading that's going to make you 10k months, some people making, you know, 20k months, you think that's going to take you 2 weeks to do? Come on, right? Think about it. It's still life that we're living. Trading isn't like a glitch in the system. Everything has a process. Everything is supposed to take long. If trading took 2 weeks to make 10k months, everybody will be doing it, right? So it's meant to take time, because you don't just make money like that. There's gonna be time with it, just like everything else. Now the next thing to know is backtesting will double the speed at which you learn. And the only thing that's gonna triple that speed is even more backtesting. Backtesting is just the idea, or is the action of getting data. This is having data to prove that you know what you're doing. This is data to show you that every trade you're taking and you enter in here and leave in here and taking this setup, it shows you that, okay, in the past it worked, so in the future it's probably going to work the same way. That's what backtesting is, and many of us fail to do it, and I was guilty of this as well. When I started trading, I didn't want to backtest. It just seemed long. And I remember there's some of my students that I speak to and I told them they have to backtest. Some of them don't want to do it, and I hear it, because there's some strategies out there that require you to go from the daily time frame to the 4 hour to the 3 hour to the 1 minute just to find one setup. So that is kind of long. But the way I trade is very, very simplified, very extremely simple, that once I start to introduce people to it and start showing them, cool, you backtest this way, they even start to enjoy it, because you see how very, very quick your confidence increases. Very, very quick. The moment I actually sat there for like 20 minutes to backtest one of my students, in about 20 minutes, she literally got the hang of things. Everything that the errors she was making before, we start to see them. It was a lot easier to understand that, okay, cool, now I know what I'm doing. So then in the future, you pretty much practice this so much that you remember every habit and you start to implement them and start taking better trades. If you have no data to build your confidence to say that I'm going to take a buy right here and I'm going to put my stop loss here and not move it, then what's going to end up happening is, as you are trading, you know, every day, and you're adding new things, removing this, you lose this day, you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to change this. And then the next day that wins, you put it back in. You're just going to be in a cycle of changing your strategy and winning, losing, that in 3 years time, you realize that you're still winning, losing, and you've not made a single penny. You're just losing money from commissions, basically. So overall, you're net negative. So you have to have the chest and the confidence to say, I'm going to enter this trade and just stick with it because I know my data says so. I know that overall in the month, I'm going to be winning as long as, you know, this plays out. Simple. I myself, I've literally backtested for over 1,000 hours. I have so much data going back, you know, 2008, 2011. I've gone back in time to get all of this data. I've done different ways of backtesting. I've done it on different softwares, and I've collected all of this. That is how I'm able to share some of these to other people. So they didn't even compare results, right? Someone can go back to July 2012 or whatever it is and ask me, cool, what the trade did I take at that time? I have a screenshot of the trade, I have a screenshot of my entry, my stop loss, to just show them that, okay, cool, this is what I would have done because of my backtesting data. This is where I would have entered. Did you have the same thing? I have all of this data. That's why I'm not phased when I'm trading. And even when, you know, I'm getting stopped out at like, you know, 2K loss or 1K loss, I'm not bothered because I know that at the end of all of this, it's all gonna be fine because my data says so. I have so much data that nothing is really gonna bother me right now because I know that at the end of this year, at the end of the month, I'm gonna be profitable anyway. Now, from the entirety of trading, if there's one thing I regret, that would be not having a mentor. When I started trading, I went through the YouTube route. It took me a while to do, and I wish I had a mentor. That's my only regret. I rarely regret things, but I wish I had a mentor at the start of trading. I was able to learn trading in about a year by myself through YouTube, and that was a year of, as I said, I lost a lot of money, right? I had to lose a lot of money to learn that way. Money was my cost to speed up the time. I could have invested that money into a mentor and double that time and probably lose less money. So that's the one thing I do wish I would have done, and this is something I will recommend to you guys as well, because what you're going to have is guidance. What you're going to have is a path to follow, and the biggest one of all to why many people lose is because of bad habits. If you learn through, you know, different strategies, different YouTube videos, you end up building up a ton of bad habits that you learn along the way. You end up learning different entries and stuff, and you try to mash the whole thing together to try to make a meal that just ain't gonna mash properly, and it just tastes disgusting. That's kind of how it is when you jump all over the gaff. You want to have one mentor, you want to learn from that mentor, and obviously the mentor needs to be, you know, doing the right thing. You need to see results from their other students, that they're doing well, etc, etc. And if you go with them, you learn their way, then you're good. Because remember, with trading, different strategy works. So that means that as long as you find someone's strategy that works with you and you like how it is, you just go for it and you learn exactly what they do. That would have saved me so much time and money you can't imagine. But obviously, I went through the long route, and just like I said, if you're trying to be like a doctor, for example, that's not a skill you're going to learn. Yes, you can learn on YouTube. Yes, it could take you 10-20 years to learn all the different things that you're going to need, and still nobody's going to really trust you anyway. But you can probably learn online in this generation that we're in. But there's a reason why you have to go through university. You have to learn through someone who's qualified. You have to learn through them, and you learn exactly what you need and not what you don't need, and then you'll be ready at the end of like the 5 years, 6 years later. You'll be ready and you'll be a professional. It's the exact same with trading. If you find someone that knows what they're doing, you'll be a lot more qualified than kind of making the whole process a headache for you. So if you're a trader that is still losing more than you're winning, or you're a trader that just doesn't have that edge yet, or you don't know exactly why you're losing, then I have made a video on my honest advice for traders who are just not profitable yet, so you can know exactly what it is that you need to do. So click on that video and get profitable.